Hello guys, this will probably be a quick video today on the 10-9-5 hand. Don't have as much time today, but I'm gonna try go through it anyway. Oh, it's this hand right here, great. Yeah, so anyways, in the review we see bet 3/4 of the pot, which seems kind of fine on this flop. And then basically villain who is a reg calls. I think it's also important to note that this particular villain is a bit more on the passive side in general, like he's got green numbers in his aggression factor. He is folding to c-bets quite a lot. And like we don't really have much info on his donks, but like I doubt he's going to be donking. So like this guy's a pretty, like he seems more on the passive side in general rather than an aggressive player. So I don't think he's going to be so creative here to be donking. And anyways, so he donks like 3/4 of the pot, pretty much, and we actually end up folding. We don't have like a huge stack left, like 16 big blinds, and he's actually making a 16.5 big blind. No, sorry, like basically about half our stack, like a bit less than half our stack, which is about 8 big blinds. 8.5 bet, which is really big, obviously, and so we decide to fold here. And that is basically the hand. So not too interesting, but let's just go through this. So firstly, he should be checking his entire range to us. Regarding pre-flop ranges, we're 25 big blinds deep, so we're going to use these ones. This would be his calling range, whereas player 2 is in position. This is our button opening range. I think it's going to be somewhat accurate in general, even if it isn't though. Like most people tend to play kind of GTO pre-flop from these positions. Or close to it. So anyways, we should have, like on 10-9-5, we should have a decent checking range. However, we should be betting too. And I think one of the important things to note here is, so Maori Monkey chose a large 3/4 pot sizing. That isn't bad. Basically, let's say you got Jack 10, right? You definitely, it's one of the hands that does want to bet big, along with, for example, pocket queens, pocket kings, and the EV difference between betting large and like half pot. It's going to be very similar, right? But it's not really about the EV difference in this spot. It's more about how your entire range wants to play. And basically, we want to be betting about half pot as our standard sizing here. And the reason is because of the 10 and the 9. These are two, let's say, kind of high middling cards. And whenever there's like these two high middling cards, so for example 10-9 or 10-8 or like Jack 9 or Queen 9 or Jack 8 or something like that, whenever there's two of these high middling cards on the flop, it kind of connects with both players' ranges. Like if we look at out of positions range, yeah, he has a decent amount of 9s and 10s. And I think that he actually has more than us, right? However, however, in position still has more nutted range. In position is going to have all the overpairs, all the stronger 10s, and also the sets. So in position is basically going to have, an equity advantage, but it's mainly about the nuttiness advantage as well. And so since we have a decent nuttiness advantage, we can go ahead and bet with a larger sizing, but because villain still has more tens in general, we still want to construct a bit of a checking range. It's not as simple as, we're going to check a lot, therefore when we do bet, we can go ahead and bet big. I mean, there's a lot of times when you check a lot, you can still be betting small only. It's all about the ranges, and in this situation, we have a more nutty range, and we want to take advantage of that. However, since the 10 and 9 hit both players quite hard, and they do still have all the nut draws, which are still going to turn out better by the river. So when you've got a nut draw, since they have a nut draw, we don't have such a huge advantage, and so we do want to be betting half pot, and we're checking an okay amount. We're checking about 30%. So what type of hands is GTO checking? So ace-7 of spades. So with the back doors, ace-7, ace-8 of spades, ace-6 of spades are the most obvious ones. These are really close as we see. And I like ace-4, ace-3, ace-2. I wouldn't be surprised if it was doing a bit more checking if we didn't round it. Yeah, so it's got a bit more mixed sizings, basically. I mean, everything's got mixed sizings, so as we see, this is why I would say that rounding is much more useful in these scenarios. It makes it look much more clean to construct our strategy. And ace-jack is a decent combo to be betting on the flop as a bluff, just because it's not got as much equity as ace-king or ace-queen, and it's got more like backdoor straight draws. Otherwise, like our total trash is going to generally be betting, except for some of the good gut shots. So 8-7 and 8-6. It's important to be checking these back in general. Again, otherwise a 7 or a 6 are totally in villain's range, and when a 7 or 6 comes, he can start attacking our range a lot. So again, probably most people aren't going to bet 8-6 and 8-7, whereas they should be betting most other air hands, basically. Yeah, and otherwise just bet half pot mostly with your range. I don't think it's too complex. So, he is supposed to raise a decent amount with his strong tens. And he's also supposed to raise with hands like ace-x and king-x of clubs. This is something I don't think really people are going to be doing here too much. So important to note that his raising range will probably be a bit too strong. And he's also supposed to be raising hands like queen-jack or king-queen quite often. Like king-queen is better than queen-jack, as we see. Because king-queen is dominating queen-jack and all the other draws, basically. So king-queen is like one of the best bluffs. Same with ace-x of clubs, one of the best bluffs. You don't want to raise with, for example, 8-7 of clubs. Even though it's got a ton of equity, you want to, you're not going to fold out draws that dominate you. So that's why king-queen, ace-x of clubs are much better as a bluff raise. Anyways, we do call, and the turn comes, and he is supposed to be donking quite a bit, as we see. Now, there's a big bet and a small bet, and, when we bet half pot, obviously, he's got every single combo of 9x in his range. He's going to be check raising a lot of 10s from the flop, so his range is actually going to be quite polarized. And so, as we see here, 10s are not really interested in betting with a large sizing if they do bet. 10s are only interested in betting a small sizing. And so he is supposed to use a large sizing. 4.5 it's half pot. So it's not so large, but it's kind of large. And so yeah, basically he's supposed to be like basically protecting some of his tens with a small size and a quarter size bet, and then I think a lot of people might bluff enough, like five or like 5x's are also good to like deny equity, for example. And then for the nines, it's supposed to be kind of mixed, right? Now, let's actually change it. I mean, obviously we can't really fold against a half-pot donk, against a GTO half-pot donk with any 10. We even have to call a lot with hands like ace-6 and ace-8, even though, those hands really aren't that great. Ace-jack is folding more than ace-6 because I guess that, he's going to be donking jacks quite a bit. But let's see what we can do here. Let me copy this, and so I'm going to copy this and put it into 3/4 bet right here. So I'm going to paste that firstly. So now we got rid of the 4.5, we put it there. What else could we do? Well, firstly, we could see what happens if we do nothing but change the sizings, and maybe we could even just get rid of the small bet. No, let's include the small bet. It won't change much about the big bet. So we see once we start betting larger now, it was before calling a lot of hands, such as king high or whatever. It was calling ace queen more often than not, and ace jack was this frequency thing. And it was calling like these ace 4, ace 3, ace 2 type of hands. Whereas now it's always folding. It still has to call every single pair. But you see that there is a difference, and it was raised, and we still raise trips quite a bit. Now that's what happens here. Now let's go consider that villain is not going to be donking, because he donked 3/4 pot. Most people are not going to be donking every single combo of 8-3 or like all of these flush draws over here. Most people just, or like even king queen. I don't see many people donking king queen. So let me get rid of some draws that I don't think people will be donking. Queen jack maybe, let's get rid of some queen 9, and like we should probably get rid of some of his bluffs. So maybe not all, but let's see how many bluffs we need to remove in order for us to start folding, basically. So here he still has a few bluffs. He still has queen 4, queen deuce, king 8 for some reason, like jack 9, jack 8, jack 7. He still has 7 8. He still has so he still has queen jack. So he still has a decent amount of bluffs here, and I'm actually going to get rid of the king x's completely. I think people won't bluff those enough. So now he has less bluffs, and I still didn't include every single 9 in his range. So now he's getting more value heavy, and let's see if we need to start folding some 10s or if we still need to be calling, because so far we clearly had to call, but we need to, let's see what the cutoff point is. Okay. So here we see we didn't remove too many of his bluffs really, and we're already folding even pocket jacks. We're already folding jack 10 always now. We have to continue obviously with 10x with spade or heart. So king 10 and ace 10 are better, but it's very close, right? Between calling and folding already, it's getting very, very close, like King 10 and Ace 10. Because obviously, people are not going to be turning Ace X or King X into a bluff here nearly enough compared to like Jack X or like some of the trash. So yeah, basically right now we're folding most of our top pairs except our best bluff catches, and I think that's already, he's not mega bluffing. I mean, he's not mega value heavy. Like he's still got a few of these in a small bet or large bet, but let's now go on to the maximum exploit, which would be maybe he's totally not bluffing that. He's never bluffing flush draws, and instead he is doing this with a 9, 100, like not 100%, but quite a lot basically. And he's a lot less polarized, like he's a lot more polarized. Sorry, and like he's still got a decent amount of nines that are still in his checking range here. Even he's still got like Ace 9, King 9, Queen 9 in his checking range, which I'm not sure many people are gonna do. So over here, we might have to fold even pocket aces, who knows. Or like Ace 10. So here, as we see, yeah, we're folding everything. We're folding even pocket aces, pocket kings, Ace 10. So this is, let's say, against a passive player. This is the max exploit, obviously, and I don't know. Pocket aces is not even close to a call or a raise. I think this fits the profile of a lot of players, especially the player ABC player who we can view as a bit too passive. It's going to be hard. Like he probably has a few bluffs, but not too many. We do still have Jack 8 here, so we do still have a combo of bluffs, and he's not donking every time with a 9 still. Just way more often than not. Maybe we could put back in a couple of bluffs. I don't know. Just put that back in, but we put in so many 9s that it's gonna be hard to not. It's gonna be hard to bluff catch basically against someone who's like passive and doesn't have enough bluffs. So yeah, this one was rather simpler, but actually it's still not even close. Like aces, Ace 10, it still snap folds. I think an important thing to note is also when we do have a 9, we basically want to jam just for value and equity denial. They're just so strong, and you basically play very straightforward. You've got a strong flush draw, you call. What's interesting is we actually can fold just naked weak flush draws because they have so few of them, and that is we don't have too many of them. Like we do have ace 2, ace 3, ace 4, but we don't have many naked flush draws since we're betting a bunch of them on the flop. But we do see the point that yeah, we can be massively overfolding here. And maybe I can try to get back to a cutoff point where, I don't know, maybe if this guy starts bluffing 8-7, and I don't know, some random bluffs, maybe we can start to call a bit more. So you can just kind of play around with this until you understand where you can fold or call or whatever. Yeah, but not too much interesting about this hand. I just wanted to see the cutoff point for calling against donks and how donking ranges should be created. you see here we're including more bluffs and we can still fold. Like, I mean, King 10 and Ace 10 are better than pocket aces. I guess since the 10 blocker is more important. Well, actually, no, that's a flush draw. Okay, never mind. Yeah, then they're still folding. I don't know about Queen 10. This probably has something to do with this bluffing range. But, like, aces now is very close between a call and a fold, at least. Jack 10 also. But we see, but even here we included significantly more bluffs, and I think a decent amount of people are going to make. Yeah, so this kind of shows you just how you can kind of play around in simple post flop and play with ranges, see what you can come up with. Maybe to finish this video, I can try to think why it was never donking like ace 9, queen 9. I guess it had to do with in position's barrel range is not going to be like in position should be barreling some high cards maybe. Yeah, so in position should be barreling like ace jack and ace king and ace queen and ace jack, like way more, and king queen, king jack. I think a lot of people are going to give up here, which they should be if people are donking more value heavy. But you know, they're supposed to be donking quite a bit, so we should still be barreling these types of hands. And in reality, I think people aren't going to be barreling like ace queen or ace jack nearly enough, or ace king, whatever. And so, like, you know, these cards are really good to barrel because they got two overcards. They don't really have any equity. I mean, apart from the two overcards. And so you kind of just want to fold out some random draws, or like, they're kind of like weak showdown value also because, you know, you barrel this and you force some worse draws to call, like flush draws. Like, I mean, yeah, maybe some flush draws might check raise as a bluff, but in like king 4, for example. But in general, they're just, you know, they're just gonna call, right? I mean, it also forces some flush draws to fold. It forces, like, you know, king jack is in a very difficult spot. It has to fold. So, yeah, queen 8, jack. Like, these hands have a decent amount of equity. And basically, by barreling, we pretty much allow ourselves to, you know, we force some hands to like fold or like call with a weaker flush draw, and yeah, 8-7 has to call, for example, and we already beat those, right? So it's putting us in a very good spot here, basically, when we barrel. With hands like ace queen, stuff like that, most people aren't doing that, and that's why. And that's why I think, like, if we had to construct a donking range, it would, you know, make sense to be donking like king 9 and queen 9 way more. Yeah, and like, I guess king queen and stuff like that, but yeah. But in reality, you know, people aren't really playing like this on the turn. So it comes down to like how you think people will play and how to exploit that. But okay, this was a kind of shorter video. I'm sure there's some other things we could look into, but I didn't want to spend too much time on this spot because I didn't find it too interesting. But yeah, seeing how much we can start folding against donks that are too strong is always interesting. So thanks for watching.